Today's stars, yesterday's legends, forever our passion. This is the hard K. Real talk, no filters, just wrestling.
This is the hard cam.
Good evening. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the hard cam. We are back alongside, as always, Paul. How you doing tonight, my man?
Oh, I had 2 Red Bulls today because I was feeling tired earlier, and I am flying right now. So,
well, good, because you got to come down a little bit and backtrack some of them comments from last week. But we'll get to it, man. What a crazy week! And I'm going to start out with non-wrestling for a second, owned by the same company. Well, not the same company as everybody, but same company as WWE. UFC last night, Conor McGregor makes his long-awaited return, and it flopped, man. He injured his leg in like the first. He threw a leg knee strike and injured it in like the first minute, and they had to be stopped because of the leg injury. Did you see that?
I did. Okay, so I want to pause for a moment and put on my tinfoil hat. I want to be very clear. I'm putting on my tinfoil hat for this comment I'm about to say. There's video as he's getting into the ring, and he's, you know how they're like, they get their jackets off, they do the kind of, you know, the guys check their gloves and make sure that they're getting in legit. There's a video where he kind of like, before he gets into the octagon. So tinfoil hat, allegedly. There's a conspiracy theory going around that people think he was injured going into the fight, and the big kick was a work, as they say, to kind of go, that's how I hurt myself, and that's why I can't fight. But well, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, if he hurt himself getting into the cage right before, we'll just call that the Adam Cole, then, I guess. But do you think he ever fight?
Allegedly,
yeah. I mean, okay. Well, I mean, regardless of how he got injured, do you think he ever? Do you think he ever fights again?
I don't know. This might be one of those things where it's like the kind of the history he has and this kind of fight. This might be one of those like, all right, I think we're done with you. I think you've burnt your bridges. You've burnt your goodwill. Yes, you're charismatic, but there's a lot on. If there was a yay and nay list for Conor McGregor, there's a lot on the nays and not a lot on the yays, and the yay part is getting smaller. So,
well, I agree with you. He's very charismatic. You know, he didn't go in there and lose badly last night, so I don't think it hurts his legacy. I do think if he comes back and tries to fight again, you know, I agree, leave well enough alone. But he is charismatic enough to where I wouldn't say make him a commentator. But let it, you know, have him at an event, you know, interview him for a minute, you know, maybe interview him between fights or let him do some commentary between fights or whatever like that. He is a big name. There's a way to use him. You can go off your WWE counterparts for that and show, you know, because they're real good at using people that no longer step inside the ring. So, you know, I think he still has some value. I don't think he should ever fight again.
I want to highlight a possible coincidence. I don't know if this is just an observation. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. Was Anderson Silva's last fight also an injury in the leg? Didn't he get his leg broken with a check kick? And that was
I believe so, but
for a long time.
I'm not a UFC savant. I've watched it over the years here and there. I used to enjoy watching Ronda Rousey's fights when she was coming out and obliterating people in the first round. I think I told you this first UFC fight I ever saw, and I cannot remember the guys' names, but they come up, you know, let's get it on. They square off like this, and the one guy back here on the whatever side you want to call it, hauls off and throws a big roundhouse kick, hits the guy in the temple, and the guy's, you know, he's frozen there for like a half a millisecond, and then he just falls back like you cut down a tree, and it was it. I was like, oh, good Lord. And then
that's the first fight a UFC won.
And then I saw another one where a guy threw a kick and his leg just flopped when he hit the guy that he was kicking. It broke his leg. Of course, I did watch Brock Lesnar and Randy Couture when, you know, Randy won the fight, but looked like he had been hit by a truck because he got Brock in a knee lock, and Brock wound up having to tap out, but then he went and got his rematch and beat the shit out of him. But Brock had beat the shit out of him in the first match too. He was in there with a veteran fighter that knew what to do. Like I said, I watched some of Ronda Rousey's. I did watch that Conor McGregor Ford Mayweather debacle. I did watch that, and it was like, ugh. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, really, I haven't watched a whole lot of UFC. I have went back and watched some of like Dan Severn's fights from the 90s. That was a bad dude. Seen a couple of Shamrock's fights on YouTube, but just not my thing. But as far as McGregor goes, he's appeared in WWE before. I can completely see them using him again for, a guest referee spot or, an enforcer spot, again, because he's a great heel. He's got that Logan Paul trait where you just want to hate him. And, Logan Paul has finally showed a little bit that he's not as much of an asshole as he comes off on camera. He's got a soft side to him. But McGregor, he's kind of private, and you don't really see a whole lot of him out in public. So, I think he could be well used in WWE if done right. What do you think about that?
Yeah, pass.
No, I didn't say it would be. I didn't say it's something you or I would like, but this is what they do, man. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I never had the thought going into it, and like it's just not attractive to me as a viewer. So it's just one of those. If they do or they don't, I'll continue to not watch. So
I'll be honest with you, man. I'm the old fuddy duddy. I've never liked the glitz and the glam of bringing out. I didn't mind the early WrestleManias when they brought in, people to do the Star Spangled Banner and stuff like that, because it gave it that big fight feel, the Super Bowl type feel. I didn't mind that, but when you start getting celebrities involved in the ring, that's where I'm like, ugh. So I don't know. I mean, the one that I thought probably looked the best. I mean, Bad Bunny looked really good, but if you go back, Karl Malone did real well. Rodman picked it up, but Malone did really well. And then they brought Jay Leno in, and I was just like, okay, you done went too far now. But anyway, we'll go skip right past that because we got a lot of wrestling news. We'll go right into last Monday night. Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes, the WWE Championship. And at the very beginning of the show, we see Gunther attack Cody Rhodes. And then we hear Cody's not cleared. Cody cannot wrestle. And Sammy's like, well, good, I'll take the night off. And then Adam Pearce is like, no, you won't. You're here to defend the title. Well, who? Don't know. Hadn't decided yet. And we see a returning Nick Aldis look at Adam Pearce and say, you know what? While you were trying to run around and do this and do that, I actually fixed it for you. I called somebody and they are here to challenge for that title. So you're welcome. And the announcers, Cole and Corey Graves, or who could it be? I'm like, oh my God, come on now. We're in Chicago. We're not stupid. We already heard Punk was coming back tonight. And lo and behold, who shows up to challenge Sami Zayn? But CM Punk. And CM Punk is your new WWE champion. What do you say, Paul? What's your reaction to that?
I saw it. I went, okay, weird. And then when I looked at the reaction of the internet community, it seems that no one's ever happy, is all I'm going to say. Like, whether this is a good decision or not, everyone is comparing Punk to like Hulk Hogan and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. That might be a little much, but.
Oh, dude, I saw some of those memes. Some of those memes were great. Going back and putting Punk and Cody's face on Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan from that was WrestleMania 9, I think. When Yokozuna beat Bret Hart, but then Hulk Hogan come in and, and Fuji, we defend the title against you right now. And, they said that was done because they were doing a European tour and Hulk was much bigger in Europe than Bret was. And they were supposed to put the title back on Bret or whoever. But those memes have been great.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not big on Punk. I see him as like he's got to be a dad now, right? Like this is not the best on your roster. Like this is
he isn't. Him and AJ do not have any children. They did lose their dog earlier in the year. Oh my God, Larry the dog passed away. They have since went and got another one from the same spot. One of the adoption centers they got Larry from that they do a lot of charity work for. They have fur babies.
Okay. No, I don't know. I don't understand. Okay. So here's the question. they seemingly put the belt on Sami as a knee-jerk reaction because apparently the advertising department of WWE was upset at a rug pull. They're like, well, we didn't promote Sami as champion. So did they quickly knee-jerk put the belt on Sami because they knew it was going to be a pop? And then we're like, we got to get this off of him as soon as possible because it's not a good idea. Oh, Punk's back, put it on him. Or was this a master plan and it's all several layers of kayfabe?
I don't think it was a master plan per se. It's been rumored for a while. I mean, ever since, CM Punk's last night, before, he took a planned break, it was widely spread before Mania that he was taking a break after he was doing the Roman Reigns per se after Mania. And so he comes out the Raw after Mania. Him and Cody have some words. It's been rumored for months that was the planned SummerSlam match, Punk versus Cody. And I assumed they would put the belt back on Cody, and have Punk come out and challenge him. They kind of went the opposite way with that. With Sami Zayn, I don't think it was a knee-jerk reaction. I don't think Sami, you're not backstage. You don't know what they're talking about. I would almost venture to say that in the original script of Night of Champions, he probably wasn't penciled to win, but then they thought about it and was like, when better to put the belt on him in Saudi Arabia than with a three-way and have him do it as a roll-up, not a decisive win. And, but 9 days, I don't know, man. You think 9-day title run hurt Sami?
I feel like it's sort of see-through. You know what I mean? This is not a title reign that puts butts in seats. This is not a title reign that people tell stories about. So to me, it was like, couldn't you have used a different title? Did it have to be the world title? You know what I mean? It's just a sort of looking out from outside the sort of WWE lens. I'm just sort of like, was this necessary? Was this all this necessarily? Or was it just a big good pop in Saudi and then we had a good pop in Chicago and that's what they're thinking about instead of long-term between the rope storytelling?
No, that's exactly what I think it was. And, I don't, maybe in the short term it hurts him, but if you listen to his promo on Monday night or Friday, whenever the hell it was, after he won the title, and he was saying that nobody could ever take that away from him because he would forever go down as WWE's Undisputed Champion. He's right. And I'll tell you, 9 days.
Can I play devil's advocate just to be a little sarcastic here? This is not me arguing, but Coco Beware is a Hall of Famer and we can't take it. So I'm just taking the piss, but it's like, look, we can't take it away from you, but we can take the piss out of it for it not being great. And
I agree. That's what I said in the short term, but I agree with you. But where I'm going with his is that, Tommy Rich beat Harley Race back in, I want to say 81. He held the belt for 4 days. And that was, when he was still an active competitor and something would be brought up about him being an NWA champion, of course the heels took that shot. Yeah, he held it for 4 days. But now when he's discussed and done interviews are done, it's simply former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Wildfire Tommy Rich. They don't talk about the 4-day run. So down the road in history, Sami's 100% right. But while he's still an active competitor, that 9-day thing is it's going to come up a lot. So where do you think Sami goes from here?
Oh, hopefully back down to the mid card because that's where I saw his glass ceiling. I don't know. I just don't see main event Sami Zayn. But I think he's going to go back to where he was the most relevant. And I forgot what part of the interview it was, but no, we're not bringing the El Generico mask back. But I think you're going to see him in some kind of, some kind of option with the Bloodline. Is what I think you're going to see. Because that's kind of where it went. So, something was said in one of the interviews with him and the Usos and this, that, and the other, and about him, he was part of the family and whatever. So we'll see where he goes. But now you get Cody Rhodes and CM Punk at SummerSlam. Does Punk retain? Do they give Cody a 4th title run this quick? Roman going to factor in?
Who wins? Who wins with Cody and Punk? Who, if you're booking, put your booking hat on. I know you don't care as Pretty Paul, but if you're Triple H Paul, who's
honestly,
winning this? Who's winning this and why?
You put it on Punk so he can get beaten by a younger face. That's it. Is Oba face?
Yes.
Is Trick face? Yeah, okay. So give it to Punk, and then next night on Raw, Oba just comes out, mauls him to death. Now you got a fresh young face as the champ. I can give him a monster run.
Well, they're pushing.
So
they're pushing
fresh blood.
Yeah, you're going to start to see the build after SummerSlam, unless something changes. We talked about Obafemi last week about not thinking the run was sustainable, just because of the modern wrestling fans. But you never know. The current plan that, as I've read and heard, is after SummerSlam you will start seeing the build and the tension between Oba and Roman, and that's the penciled in one of the WrestleMania main events is Roman versus Oba this year. So you're not going to see him take the WWE title unless something could change. But I don't know. I agree with you. It was I was thinking about it, and yeah, I mean they keep recycling the same 40 to 45-year-old dudes as champion, and they're not making any of these new guys. They're doing it better.
It's what they call status quo wrestling. We're too afraid to change anything because when we change something, the viewers go down.
Well, and that, I agree with there. But yeah, I think they're doing a whole lot better job with the ladies division, with the women's division, getting some of the newer talent over. Charlotte's laid down a whole lot more than you're used to seeing her doing over the years. Alexa Bliss doing the same. So they're doing a lot better job of getting the younger ladies from NXT up and over than they are the guys. We saw the return of Baron Corbin on SmackDown. Did you see that?
Yeah. Ew. What?
They tried, after the debacle they made of him before he left, with the Happy Corbin gimmick and the homeless stuff and whatever, yada 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 yada. Baron Corbin returns and he destroyed Trick and Carmelo. That was in a match that where Melo won, he would get a U.S. title shot. But, Baron Corbin holds up the U.S. title. Trick had that new tricked out, no pun intended, U.S. title with the white fur around it to kind of match what he wears to the ring. And Baron Corbin picked it up, held it up, and they're all selling, the announcers are selling it. Tessitore and Wade Barrett are selling it like, the NWO just walked back in the door after years of being gone. And I'm just like, it's Baron Corbin, man.
It's turn the channel Baron Corbin. Great addition to the roster there. Great. Why? Like, I'm so curious on why this guy, and this question sort of extends to because they're bringing back Enzo and Cass. Is this just they're bringing back? Are they nostalgia baiting Gen Z? So the people who are in their 20s, who are kids when Enzo and Corbin were on TV in NXT, are they nostalgia baiting the people in their 20s?
Maybe, but I will say this: if you're giving me the choice of Enzo and Cass versus Baron Corbin, I mean Enzo's a fool, but he's funny on TV. He's entertaining on TV. There is nothing entertaining about Baron Corbin, in my opinion.
I will say Baron Corbin's more entertaining between the ropes, and I'm not saying.
Oh no, I want between the ropes. I wouldn't argue with you there. Between the ropes, no doubt. Baron Corbin wrestles circles around both of them, but he is just.
I want credit where it's due in these comparisons. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, to me, they're comparison because I just look at it and I go, why these guys? Like,
well, I heard about when you started hearing the Baron Corbin rumors about a month ago. They're like, that upper management's really, really interested in bringing Baron Corbin back. And my first reaction was, why? You didn't do nothing with him the first time. Why?
You have this in-depth roster of all these people. You're hyping people up, but now you're bringing back people who, when they left, you kind of put them down. You know what I mean? It's just confusing. It's like you have this access to a worldwide roster, and you're just like, yeah, but we need yes men that don't want to be paid a lot. And I think that might honestly be the reason, because they had a big talent leave, and apparently the rumor is for that reason is the paycheck. They wanted a big pay cut. So I don't know if they're picking up these two guys because they're willing to be paid what Sheamus did not want to be paid, apparently, if the rumor is correct.
Well, Sheamus has also been around 20 years. He's done everything, and he's these last 5 years of his career, he's been very injury prone these last few years. So,
apparently he's got a wicked spinal thing. Everyone was talking about where he's going to go, and a couple people were like, well, apparently he's got spinal scoliosis or something, which is not a like, oh, he'll heal up in a couple months, and this might be a hopefully he can walk in a few years type of neck thing. So I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying I saw that in a comment that people are saying he's more injured than the common folk are talking, but hopefully that's not the case. I just don't want to see him kind of in a rough physical shape.
All right. Well, here's what got me excited on SmackDown. And I hope I am not let down when it happens. But you see, of course, Cody comes out, talks to Punk. You see Gunther go in the back, and because Nick Aldis has been reinstated as general manager after the whole investigation thing after Night of Champions. And he tells Nick that he's got to the end of the night to make it right. And Nick comes out, Gunther comes out at the end of the show, and he's like, are you going to make it right? He goes, you want to fight CM Punk? You want to fight Cody Rhodes? Well, you're going to get them both at Saturday night's main event when you and your partner, the last real good guy, Sami Zayn, go head to head in the tag team match. And, Gunther said something. He's like, you're not getting a title shot, man. And basically, he said more than that. That's essentially what he said. Mm-hmm. He turned around, and Gunther just hit him from behind and put him in the sleeper, and he let him out, and then he went back, and they kept coming out, the officials coming out and pulling him off. He would get rid of them and go back. It went off that way. We saw the footage afterwards where Cody Rhodes came down to get Gunther out of there and challenge him. Hey, you want to fight? Let's do it right now. But, you didn't really know where it was going to go, but now it looks like we're actually going to get Magnus Nick Aldis back in the ring for at least one more match against Gunther at SummerSlam. What say you? You excited for that?
Not necessarily. I like Nick Aldis, but part of me is going, this is going to be another Gunther retire someone gimmick, isn't it?
You can't really retire somebody that hadn't wrestled since he's been there in the company. What's he been there now? 3 years? 3 years?
No, that's fair. But is this him coming back to win against Gunther to have a healthy career in front of us? Or is this him coming in to lose to say, oh, another notch in the bedpost of Gunther? Well,
this is what I think. I think if he wrestles Gunther and loses, then it's probably a one-off, because Gunther's made several comments about, why are you taking it out on me? You're just a failed wrestler, blah, 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 blah. But if he beats Gunther, then I think you're getting a run out of Nick Aldis in the ring as in the WWE. So I think it's going to depend on which way they let it go.
But it's like a guy like you just said that hasn't wrestled in 3 years. Does he come back and beat the guy whose gimmick is the legend killer? You know what I mean? It seems sort of odd, but I guess.
Well, I mean, Aldis, now granted, Aldis was not Shawn Michaels in the ring by any stretch. Most people were not. But you got to remember that Shawn Michaels took that 4-year layoff and came back, and it was a street fight. It wasn't a straight up wrestling match, but they let him beat Triple H, who had been a multi-time world champion since Shawn's, had been gone, and he come back, and it wasn't a super kick 1, 2, 3. It was a, they had reversed each other's moves, going to the storyline about how well they knew each other and this, that, and the other. And he went for the pedigree, and Shawn reversed it and just did a flip over, cradle 1, 2, 3, and got it. And then of course Triple H attacked him after the match to keep the story going. But I don't see him. If he wins, I don't see it being I don't even remember what his finish was, to be honest with you, but I don't see it being a, decisive tap out, whatever. But I can completely see a wrestling move, a roll up or, a backslide, something that, catches Gunther off guard. And, Gunther's looking like he's going to kill him the whole match, but Nick catches him out of nowhere with something and pins him.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really too interested in Nick Aldis as someone who's kind of moving the needle in that way. So
not that. Yeah, but I know I agree with you there. I think I've told you before. I've known Nick's wife, Mickey James, for going on 30 years now. And I think the world of her. She's a sweetheart. Never met Nick in person, but I know Mickey well enough to know that she's not gonna, she's not gonna be with somebody as long as they've been together and tolerate any bullshit from somebody she don't have to. So. I can only assume he's a good dude just from knowing her. And, I liked him in TNA. I thought the Magnus gimmick, the Brutus Magnus gimmick was stupid. They dropped the Brutus. They let him be part of the main event mafia, kind of doing what he's doing now. Then he, kind of the Ric Flair presentation of the NWA World's title, always being dressed to the nines. And he's, he's very good in the ring. I mean, people will be surprised. He reminded me a lot of Nigel McGuinness when McGuinness was, wrestling full time. They had a lot of similar style, and I like that kind of stuff. So I'll be interested to see. I'm sure being married to Mickey that he's stayed in ring shape as far as whatever. And, having a ring and being able, you saw, I forgot who it was that was training with some of the women for their comeback when they did the behind the scenes, but might have been Edge. But either or, it doesn't matter. But this is where we go into it. And so I guess Kenny Omega is not in dad mode, huh? We got two new world champions in a 3-day span.
It's funny how the cultures change your sort of point of view, because I thought, hey, Kenny Omega's dad mode, right? Like, he's not really going to be pushing for the title because he's kind of aging out. But I forgot that American wrestling loves their I don't know if I want to call this a pity title, like, you've earned it. You know what I mean? Everybody's really happy that Kenny won and all this, but a part of me is like, yeah, but Kenny's really old and beat up. And he's not the Kenny he used to be, and he's not necessarily trying to change the Kenny he is. So to me, I'm just like,
Well, it wasn't exactly word for word what I said last week, but I try to, all the reports that I've seen from credible sources came out and said that this was not a last minute decision. It had always been Tony's plan. The match for Wembley was, that would put asses in seats per se. Of course, Ospreay is going to do that with the possibility of winning the world title. But the match Tony thought that would, main event and do as much business as they wanted. The match people wanted to see was Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. There was never any other. This has been planned for a while from the reports I saw, and that's kind of what I was thinking last week when you and I talked about it.
It does seem the most logical, because when you stop and think about on an international scale, when you compare Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, and MJF on the world scale, two names are way bigger than the other, because those two guys have worked literally the world stage, what I like to call. They've worked Japan, Germany, France, they've worked Thailand, you know what I mean? They've worked Malaysia, they've worked all these countries. MJF is still young and is only on one type of professional wrestling product. So in the grand scheme on the world stage, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay is the London main event. That sounds better.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying last week, that I thought it would be. But like I said, reports that I read after Kenny won Wednesday night was kind of saying that was Tony's plan all along for the main event of Wembley Stadium. And I'll say, just like I said with the Swerve match, I think Kenny will go out there and give it the best he possibly can. And I think that there's no way in hell that Will Ospreay does not win that title at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah,
what say you?
Maybe this is just them putting, in the American fashion, we're putting the belt on you one last time quickly to give you a hurrah on the way out. You drop it to Will in London because that's the big moment, an Englishman winning in England, blah, blah, blah. That's a great moment for the crowd to go nuts for a big event, like a WrestleMania 10 type moment the baby faces are winning and the confetti falls and everyone goes home happy. But yeah, like, does Kenny stay in the main event title after this, or is this just them saying one less hurrah, you lose Ospreay, and now you can go off into the sunset if you wish, you know?
Yeah, I'm not real sure where Kenny goes from that, but I will say but we'll get into the rest of each break here in just a second. But again, I've said all along, as soon as Ospreay was in that tournament, that it was set up for him to win. We didn't really cover it last week. I didn't say anything about it, but the week before on Dynamite, you saw Ospreay and Moxley come out as a tag team, and you'd seen that little thing, a little clip they showed after Forbidden Door, where Moxley told him how proud of him he was, and that he didn't hand these out lightly, and he gave him a Death Rider patch. And, he had told Moxley at the beginning of all this he'd never be a Death Rider, but yet they come out as a tag team last Wednesday, and you see that Death Rider patch on the front of his tights to the left. And to me, I think that is the bigger story being told, because, Ospreay came back, he lost to Moxley, and then we've kind of subtly went into him being trained and worked with the Death Riders, them coming out and cheering him on against Swerve, and now him wearing the patch. But I think that's where the long-term story is going, for him to finally be able to beat Jon Moxley at some point. I don't know how they'll do it, or it might just be hey, you're the world champion. I respect you. I helped you get there. Give me a shot. It might be a, one-on-one respect thing. It might be, the Death Riders turning on him, kind of like Evolution did when Randy Orton won the title the first time, because it was supposed to be Triple H in that spot. And, he beat Chris Benoit for the title and became the youngest champion they had. So I think eventually it gets back to Moxley. From the time the Owen was announced and the winner of them going back to Wembley this year, that was just my take on it, as where it would go. And we actually got, let me do this first. Let me go back in here. No, I don't want that quite yet. Did you watch Collision last night? That was a pretty good show, actually.
Negative. Yesterday was a busy night with a bigger show than that to watch.
Which one was that?
That was night one of the G1 last night. I've been trying to smash through that this morning because I was busy last night, and it's so hard trying to dig through a 3-4 hour event when you're kind of busy throughout the day. What were you trying to highlight on Collision there?
We'll get back to it in a second, because I just want to go through this real quick. We also saw Kyle Fletcher defeat Takeshita for the international title, which made me go, ugh. I mean, you and I both talked about both of them. They're going to be around for a long time. But just to take that belt off Takeshita so quickly, I was not a fan of it. But the first match of the night.
You know why, right?
Why is that?
Because he's going to be in Japan for the next 2 months.
Oh, no, I did not know that. Oh,
so
well,
I think they were like, we just take the belt off him now so he doesn't have to,
I
don't
agree.
have to stall the story. But yeah, he's in the G1. So he's the next 2 months he's in Japan.
Okay, and then I agree with it. I did not know that. So we got the first match of the night was Tommaso Ciampa beat Chris Jericho in a no holds barred, whatever you want to call that match. Jack Perry, it was announced that he has re-signed with AEW, and we had a women's Casino Gauntlet match with the Ring of Honor World's Champion Athena and Maya World, but the surprise return of Willow Nightingale. And of course she won, and then we get an attack from Mercedes Moné, and as the Sisters of Sin are trying to come out and help Tekla, we see the big girls, the Divine Dimension, come out and attack the Sisters of Sin, and all three of them are standing. You got the Mercedes in the ring, them two up top, looking like they're forming some kind of faction. That'll be interesting to watch because they have made those two out to be unbeatable. But, then in the main event, of course, you had Kenny Omega beating, MJF. Where's MJF go from here before I go ahead and get into Collision?
I don't know. Maybe he takes a little break from here because he seems to be good at that.
Well, here's the reason I ask.
Rinse and repeat.
Well, the reason I ask is his first title run, when he beat Kenny Omega the first time, was like 460 some, 70 some days. I don't have the exact number in front of me. But these last two runs have been really short. I mean, he got squashed by Darby Allin, then he went and then he beat Darby to take it back a couple of weeks later, and then you saw him lose to Kenny last night. And I don't think that match with Darby was, if it was over a month, it hasn't been too much over a month.
Yeah, part of me thinks he's in and out because he's still working in Hollywood. Because wasn't one of his runs cut short because he had a Adam Sandler movie? Or I'm sort of misremembering two stories and they're sort of crossfiring my brain.
I mean, they're saying he's going to be in the next Grown Ups that Adam Sandler's filming. Now, when he starts filming it, I don't know. He seems to have hitched a ride with Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler takes care of the people that he likes in his movies, and he always brings them back. So good for him if that's where it's going. But the big news from last night is Hangman Adam Page has finally returned after 4 months. And yawn. Actually, I will say this. You said you didn't see it because you were watching the other stuff, but people, this is where people need to listen to words really carefully. Everybody thought he was going to come back as a heel and do this and do that. And, he came back, they're in Roanoke, Virginia. He's from Virginia, down in the mountains close to that. He comes out, he's talking about, how for all these years he's chased the title. He's wanted the title. He was all about the title. The title defined him. And, now he can't challenge for it anymore. And, he was saying that he didn't know who Adam Page was without the world title. He said, but he had been home planting this and planting that, and he loved to plant a seed and watch it grow. So tonight he was going to plant another one. And he started talking about the TNT title, all the titles that are out there. But he kept circling back to the world title. And there was something that he said that makes me think that heel turn will come. Because he said, now, he said, now this is me not challenging for the world title. Is not something that was put in ink. It's not something filed away in a cabinet somewhere. He goes, it was just my word. And I'm a man of my word. And I'm like, and there it is. So like he came back as a baby face. He was happy for Kenny winning the title. But, right there to me, you've been watching it a long time too. But that right there to me, when he made a point to say that he didn't sign anything, that it wasn't something filed away in Tony Khan's file cabinet or top drawer that said he couldn't challenge for the title. It was simply his word. I said, it ain't gonna be no time soon, but there'll be a time when that comes, when he says, you know what, y'all can't do it like I can, so I'm coming after. What do you think?
I mean, don't kill your gimmick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of putting the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse. Like, I get it. I get what you're doing. But by saying this isn't a legal stipulation, some people could argue you're diminishing the stipulation because we all know you're going to go back on it anyway. So it's one of those, like, there's other options. You don't have to have him go back on his word to have some sort of character moment. Give him, like, Naito. Let him win a smaller belt, have a monster run, and then be like, oh, on All Out, he's going to headline with the TNT belt instead of the world champ. Like, there's other stories you can tell other than, yeah, he's just gonna go back on what he said. And because part of me is like, yeah, you're taking the legs out of your own stipulation here. So,
no, and I hear you. I do. But like I said, I thought that was going to be unless he, Cody did it, and it was to me a disaster that Cody did that. Being the whatever you want to say Cody was in AEW, and it didn't work for me, brother. But I like I said, I think with his wording last night, it's kind of setting you up for what might be down the road. It's kind of like if you pay attention to what's going on with Ospreay and Moxley. That's where I think the slow burn is going to come. And when you finally get back around to Ospreay having to defend this title he hasn't won yet against Jon Moxley and finally being able to beat Jon Moxley. Or depending on where they want to go with it, maybe Moxley beats him. I mean, you don't know. But last night on Collision, after that, you had Hikaru Shida defeat Harley Cameron, her first defense of the TBS title. She tried to do more damage after the match. Queen Aminata, who I think they could make something out of if done right, came out to make the save. You saw Bandito defend against Shibata. And in the main event, Mark Davis took everything that Speedball Mike Bailey could throw at him and still managed to keep the national heavyweight title. Willow plans to find a way to get to Wembley Stadium for All In and challenge Mercedes Moné and AEW Tag Team Champions Divine Dominion to face her, Maya World, and I don't know who. I'm not sure who this is. Hyen, Hyan, next week on Dynamite, Moné's hometown of Boston.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Now is Hyan? Is that a New Japan lady or?
Spell it? No, it would no. New Japan's only the men. Spell the name for me.
Hyan.
Hyun. Why does it sound like Korean or Chinese? Hyun. That's not a Japanese name. Hyun.
They might have meant to put Maya World out there, so I don't know. I mean, but Maya World would make sense, but I'm not sure. So.
Oh, maybe it's one of those people from like Thailand. I heard they're moving around nowadays. I don't know if Hun's a Thai name. I'm just sort of guessing.
No, I like I said, unless it's spelled incorrectly, then I'm not sure who they're talking about. So, let's see. So off the top of your head, just pick one. I know you don't care, but just off the top of your head, pick one. SummerSlam, CM Punk or Cody?
Cody, sure.
We already talked about this, but I said my opinion. Ospreay or Kenny at Wembley?
Yeah, I guess it's not even like an opinion thing. It's just the story has forced their hand. We know Luke Skywalker is not going to lose this fight. Yeah, it seems like an easy dunk for a WrestleMania 10 type of. Have Ospreay win, let the London crowd go nuts, easy peasy.
And do you think Nick Aldis is actually going to wrestle, or is he going to have somebody like wrestle for him against Gunther?
Oh, knowing WWE, he'll wrestle, but who knows? Maybe this is where Danhausen's clone comes into play. I don't know.
Well, Baron Corbin had been rumored to be who was under the sheet, but maybe now it'll be Enzo or Cass or both of them. Who knows? After a 9-day title run, underwhelming, I would say. You think Sammy ever wins another world title?
No, he's mid-card at best. He's a Mr. Perfect type of wrestler. Phenomenal. No. But
you bite your tongue with that shit. Kurt Hennig was a main event, but Kurt Hennig was a main event player. He got misused.
Mr. Perfect was not a main event player. That's why I was made that specific thing, because Mr. Perfect was a good, solid mid-card gimmick. You know, he can be the Dolph Ziggler, the sort of gateway to the upper card, but I don't know. I don't see that Sami Zayn has what Kevin Owens has in that sort of main event. Je ne sais quoi.
To take a left turn real quick, and then I'll get back to normal stuff. See if you remember this. Kurt Hennig stayed undefeated for a good amount of time in the WWE as Mr. Perfect. Do you remember who they let him lose to for the first time?
Kamala.
No. I'd have been better. I wouldn't have been too upset about that because Kamala was 350 pounds, and if he fell on him, you could get a 1, 2, 3 if we're talking a real fight. Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake. Out of all them people that Hennig had beat, and setting him up for a feud with Hogan for the title and all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying bring in Kurt Hennig and let him beat Hogan for the title back then. That wouldn't have been smart business for what they were doing. But not Randy Savage, not Hulk Hogan, not, pick one of the main eventers from Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake.
No.
I was mad as hell.
Yes.
No matter though. So, all right.
Yes.
Today in pro wrestling history, 10 years ago, Moose made his TNA debut. I thought it'd been longer than that. In the X Division match between champion Eddie Edwards and Bobby Lashley at the Impact Zone. 40 years ago, WWE Championship Wrestling, they plant the seeds of Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff as they showed tension in a tag team match. Summer movie season rolls on as 13 years ago, Pacific Rim co-starring Kurgan was released. Anybody remember Kurgan of the Oddities? Mm-hmm. He was one that was with Don Callis in the Truth Commission.
Mm-hmm.
21 years ago today, I remember this. A very different looking Tommaso Ciampa made his WWE debut on SmackDown as attorney Thomas Whitley, reading a statement on behalf of Muhammad Hassan. You ought to look that picture up. I mean, if you look closely, you can tell it's him. But Rene Goulet, born on this day in 1932. 14 years ago today, a young Ettore Langston made his WWE debut to go on to become Big E Langston and shortened to Big E. Oh, Lord. 31 years ago today, the end of an era for 80s and 90s wrestling fans. Jack Tunney was released by the WWF due to financial struggles. Why are you shaking your head, man?
Because honestly, I love Jack Tunney. He represents such a good part of anytime that I have a role play wrestling. You know how they have like booking simulations and all that. Jack Tunney is my guy because I still go back to him being one of the better authority figures because he was so a step.
Oh, he was
back.
great. He was great. He was great at it.
He was so official. There was none of this. I'm getting in the way. Holla holla. Match with the Undertaker. It was just like, no. There goes a legal clause that says here you cannot have two single championships at the same time. So therefore, I like that kind of authority figure because it screams real sports.
Yeah,
There's a guy
absolutely.
at the top who's not good at promos telling you these are the rules.
No, I agree with you. I thought he did a great job.
And he's Canadian. He did a lot of work up here in Toronto, like big star, big booker.
Yeah, from what I read, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll know better on this than me. He went to work for the WWF after they had picked up one of the Canadian territories.
It's yes and no, because Canada didn't really have necessarily the same sort of context territories, but when they came up to Canada, they met a bunch of people who have like, hey, I'm Jack Tunney. I have 47 years of experience booking shows. And they went, oh, okay. You know what I mean? It's just one of those, they met the right person at the right time who had been promoting shows since I think like the 40s or something. I can't, like, that could be wrong, but he's been around for donkeys and donkeys and years.
And it seems like this is a lot longer ago, but 1 year ago today, Hangman Page defeated Jon Moxley to win back the AEW title, who had Moxley had kept it in that bag, saying that nobody deserved to see the title. And Hangman finally took it from him and took it out of the bag. And we see where we're at right here a year later. Kenny Omega, the new champion. So we went from Page to MJF to Darby, back to MJF, now to Kenny. That's all been within a year. 1 year ago tonight as well. God, I didn't realize this was on the same night. Bill Goldberg's Hall of Fame career came to an end when he lost his retirement match to Gunther. And hats off to Gunther. If anybody watched that match, don't take me the wrong way. That was not no 5-star classic. But Gunther got more out of that dude than, I think, DDP got more out of him at Halloween Havoc 97, 98, might have been 99, hell, I don't remember, than anybody had and did after that. But Gunther, for Bill to be almost 60 years old, got more out of Bill Goldberg than I'd ever seen anybody do. So, that was a year ago. Here, this better stuff. 27 years ago tonight in Jacksonville, Florida, Hollywood Hulk Hogan defeated Randy Savage to capture the WCW World title for a sixth and final time. Let's see. 5 years ago, the wrestling world lost a true legend when Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff passed away at the age of 71 after a battle with dementia. Shane the Hurricane Helms is 52 years old today. Happy birthday to the Hurricane. Him and Brock Lesnar share a birthday, as the Beast is 49 today. 40 years ago, the King of Madison Square Garden wrestled his final match as Bruno Sammartino, who sold out MSG nearly 200 times, teamed with Tito Santana to defeat Randy Savage and Adorable Adrian in a steel cage match. 34 years ago, the Great American Bash held in Albany, Georgia. Big Van Vader defeated Sting to win the WCW title for the first time. 28 years ago, WCW presented Bash at the Beach. In the main event, we talked about this earlier. Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman against DDP and Karl Malone. We got a lot of birthdays today. Sami Zayn is 42 today. 13 years ago, the movie Grown Ups 2 hit in theaters. The sequel brought back all the cast. but you also had Stone Cold Steve Austin in that movie. He thought he wasn't going to be able to make it, and because of a knee surgery he had, but Sandler rewrote the script to make sure that he could be there and be part of it. So, and that is today in pro wrestling history. Anything stand out to you on that?
I'm honestly surprised that there was a Grown Ups 2. I have no recollection of this ever happening, and I'm vaguely aware of the first one. So yeah, that's all. That's okay.
Yeah, that was the first one.
I think I'm making that up, to be honest, but yeah.
Now he played the bully from high school, Tommy Cavanaugh, I believe was his name, and but yeah, I mean it's a funny movie. It's got Shaq in it. Got a few other people in there too. But yeah, Grown Ups 2 was like one of the only movies that he had ever done a sequel to, and then of course he did Happy Gilmore within the last year or two, and now he's got Grown Ups 3 coming out. But most of his movies are made to not have or set up a sequel. So, who's been your wrestler of the year so far? We're about halfway through right now.
It's gonna be the same guy that I'm hoping wins this G1. It's Yuya Uemura. It's one of those situations where it's like the pot's boiled and anymore. You know what I mean? Like that might be a bad analogy, but it's like, you know, the car and the wheels are already spinning and you're just waiting for it to come off the line. That's that moment with Yuya right now with this G1, because everybody's picking for him to win, to go on to Wrestle Kingdom. So it's one of those moments where something's hot. We're riding this baby face up to the mountaintops, baby. Yeah, no, Yuya's the guy.
Well, this one might surprise a lot of people because I think Ospreay's had a great year, and I think at the end of the year, he will probably be my pick. But if you go back from we just talked about it a year ago that Paige beat Moxley, and you know what a difference a year makes because they were booing the Death Riders out of the building, and he had the bag, and he'd being such an ass, and now you know they're being cheered no matter what except for Wheeler Yuta. Be fair, Wheeler Yuta still gets booed. He can be in a tag match with any of them that are getting cheered. They tag him, and the crowd starts booing. But halfway through the year, I'm gonna say John Moxley from the American side. And the reason I say that is no, he's not out there having, you know, whatever. If you're a 10-star classic guy, Matt Classic guy, that's not John Moxley's forte. But between the Will Ospreay storyline and, you know, he wrestled Bandito, they had a hell of a match together at the card. He's going out there and wrestling a lot of the younger guys, and even though he's still winning, he's putting them over, making them look like $1 million. And, you know, eventually I do think that it'll be one of the younger guys that takes that Continental Championship from him. I don't think it's going to be a CM Punk, Cody Rhodes / you know, you get what I'm saying with that. I think he will put over a younger guy to take that title unless he holds it until the next tournament and then he doesn't win the tournament or he loses in the finals, whatever. I just think he'll put somebody over to lose it. I think he's done a hell of a job for somebody that I don't particularly care for in the long term. I've never been a Ambrose / Moxley fan. I thought the match that he had as Ambrose with Brock was completely and utterly shitty, but you know, it might have been one, might have been the other, could have been a combination of both. But no, I mean, I'm digging Moxley's work here lately. What say you?
Oddly enough, he doesn't seem to be popping up on the sort of radar. It's weird that I feel like it should be, but yeah, no, for some reason he's just not on my blip currently. So
well, if you get bored,
I'm just one of those.
Yeah, I mean, if you get bored, and I know you got a lot to watch with the G1 and everything, but if you get bored and you're looking for something, just
tons to watch.
Yeah, just you know, I'm not telling you to watch full matches, but just you know, look find some clips of what he's been doing from the time that I would say like even before Ospreay came back, because we talked about this when Ospreay came back. I'm like, they're trying to turn the Death Riders baby faces, but yet they're going to put this guy that everybody's been waiting to see come back against Moxley as soon as he gets back. It didn't make any sense to me at the time, but that, you know, then the story evolved a little bit. And like I said, again, that's where I think the ultimate story is going to lead Ospreay full circle back to Moxley, whether it's a heel turn for one of them or whether it's just out of respect. Hey, you know, I'm the champion now, but I've never beat you. I need to know, not as a world champion, I need to know if I can beat you, or Moxley coming back. You know, I'll beat you every time we wrestled. You need to give me a shot at that title. I mean, it could go either way, or it could be the heel turn. I mean, however you want to do it from either side. So, but yeah, that's where we're at for the week. And I don't think we're going to see as much action, but we covered it. Conor McGregor flops, literally. 2 new world champions in 3 days. The match is set for London at All In. You get Ospreay versus Omega, and apparently that's what everybody in Tony's mind wants to see. And in London, I completely agree with Paul. I do think that's the match. I didn't think that's we were going to get something different after Omega took that stipulation. Interesting to see what's up for MJF, whether he takes a break like you were talking about, or if he comes back to do whatever it is MJF wants to do. Because he's one that they've put up here so much that if you do anything besides a world title picture with him, to me, you're putting him, you're bringing him back down. But we'll see. So you got anything before we get out of here?
All I'm gonna say is it was weird watching Tiger Mask's retirement event and watching a crowd full of people cry, watching 2 elderly lads in masks hug each other. Because they just do retirements there differently. So to bring out a Tiger Mask 1 who's in his 90s, to bring out Tom Billington for a retirement match was me going, oh, that's a callback. So Tiger Mask 4's one of his last matches was a repeat of Tiger Mask 1's first match against the Dynamite Kid, and it reminded me of what George Lucas says. It's like poetry. It rhymes. So it was a weird, emotional kind of night watching this kind of old guy retire and then bringing out the other old guy and all the flowers and all the respect. It's like, oh, this, you know what I mean? Like, part of me is like, am I about to cry for some like 60-year-old salty dude that's retiring? But extremely, extremely emotional sort of event, and like definitely something to go back and watch because as just like an interesting sort of time capsule.
Well, here's a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about how well they do retirements over there. I'm going to take that and assume, correct me if I'm wrong, that you don't see a lot of guys retire and then come out of retirement over there. Is that kind of where we're at with it?
Tiger Mask hasn't matched in 2 weeks.
Well, I will say this because,
forever.
Well, no, retirement's just a word in the wrestling business to me. Even AJ said that he would be happy to, come back and do a match or 2 here and there. He just didn't want to do anything full time. He didn't have an issue with coming back because they set him up in a storyline where somebody attacked him or blah, 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 blah. But to me, the greatest retirement that they ever did in the States was for Ric Flair. And then he went and fucked it all up, by his TNA run and this, that, and the other. Now, I'd have no issue if he got bad at the company and just left and went around. Go to TNA as an authority figure or as a legend. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. But the stuff he did in TNA was awful, to say the least. And then, afterwards, when you look at the way they didn't even give The Undertaker a send off like that. They didn't give San Martino a send off like that. And to do what they did for Ric Flair and then have him come back and just absolutely piss all over it by getting back in the ring, not once, not twice, but damn near weekly there for a bit on TNA for ratings purposes. Sometimes you just got to sit back and go, you know what? We'll wish you happy wells in your setback days, and we'll see you when you come back for your next match.
Yeah,
that's just the way I
more
look at it.
More traditionally in Japan, they go into the dad role so they can kind of wind down. So you have guys like Tiger, who's now retired because of his old age. Tenzin, his ankles went out. Asuka's gone. Suzuki's gone. Liger's gone. Rocky Romero's gone. Taichi's almost gone. Hanma's gone. Tanahashi's gone. Jado, Katamaru, Yano, Taguchi are all in dad mode. Ishii and Shibata are basically in dad mode. And someone said to me, which is a very sad phrase, they said, man, we're losing them faster than we're gaining them. And I kind of went, oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
They're not wrong.
These old guys are retiring, and there's just no one's being pushed up enough to create these dad roles.
And my thing with it would be is like, if you want to slow down or you want to take a break and just say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to say I'm retired. We'll just say I'm semi-retired. You're going to see me here and there, but you're not going to see me back in a full-time role. So you could call me semi-retired. And when I'm up here to know that I'm done, I'll let you know. But let's just, don't say, I don't want people saying I'm retired because that means I'm not getting back in the ring. I know I'm going to get back in the ring at some point. I don't know how often it'll be, and I don't know when it'll be. I'm going to go take a body and mental break, you know, like just the wording is, you know, whatever.
Well, the benefit is over there they have tours, so it's not necessarily like, hey, we're taking a break. It's just, hey, are you a light heavyweight? Yeah. Well, there's a heavyweight tour on now, so they don't need you. So you can sit this one out. So guys like Taguchi, Kamaru, who are junior heavyweights, this is a heavyweight G1. They can sit out for the 2 months, or they can do opening matches. So they have that option of like, we'll work once a week and it'll be in an 8-man and we'll take it easy and we'll, you know. So I do like how they give these older fellas a proper role that they can fall into even in their old age.
All right, and the last thing I want to cover before we get out of here, did you watch any of the first episode of Dark Side of the Ring about the Jeff Jarrett TNA story?
No.
You know, you think you know, or you not know per se is the best word, but you think you've heard everything. And I was actually surprised. Karen Jarrett now finally spoke out. You know, she said Jeff got a lot of crap from the outside world about her. And she said, I'm here to tell you that it wasn't true. She goes, Kurt and I had been separated for a long time when Jeff and I got together. And, you know, she really kind of goes into detail. She goes, you know, Kurt wasn't mad at him. She goes, if Kurt would have been mad at him, they wouldn't have been able to do what they did on TV over me. She said, I had already left. And she said, with TNA's fresh start, I was hoping, you know, this was before Jeff and I ever started talking, before I ever started talking, you know, thinking about what she goes, I was asked to come with Kurt to TNA to keep him straight. And she goes, you know, we had already separated, but I said, all right, I'll come. She goes, and I did have the hopes that Kurt would get his shit together and be the husband and father he was supposed to be, and we could reconcile. She goes, it got worse. And she goes, I just couldn't be around it. But there was a lot of stuff going out there. You know, the one constant you hear from most people is what a genuine good guy Jeff Jarrett is. And not that he would remember me, but I got to hang out with him back in the 90s. And when I'm sitting over there at the bar with him, I mean, you know, we were both drinking a beer or whatever. And I know he had some alcoholism problems later down the road, but, you know, he wasn't sitting there pounding them back and, you know, being drunk and belligerent. He was, you know, just enjoying a beer and telling me about his wife having cancer. He was talking about how hard, I mean, to a total stranger. I mean, yeah, we'd met the night before and I got him to the after hours bar, but just, you know, being a very genuine human being. You know, when I'm sitting there watching Shawn Michaels get a lap dance from somebody back there in the back of the room, and, you know, you see some of the other ones sitting around on the side, you know, just guzzling drink after drink after drink. You know, Jeff Jarrett was a normal human being, very nice to hang out with. And you hear a lot of that about just what a genuine good guy Jeff has always been. And, you know, Karen had said she did not want to do this story. And, you know, when he asked her about it and he told her, he goes, well, you know, we don't have to do it, but I can't tell that story without you. And she said, so she knew he was right. And she thought it was time that the wrestling world, you know, nothing against Kurt because he didn't do anything wrong, because he knew, but everybody else that threw Jeff under the bus, Dixie Carter, you know, using that play to get Jeff out of the company and stuff like that. It's a very interesting story. And it's the first one. They've done a lot of 2-parters over the years with Dark Side of the Ring. Jeff Jarrett's story is so enthralled and so just to be thorough with it. They are giving him it's a 3-parter. So if you're a fan of old school wrestling and you want to hear some things set straight, give it a watch. Anything else before we get out of here, man?
Just buckle your seats, baby. It's gonna be a rough next 2 months. That's all I have to say.
When's your next in-ring performance?
I'm here August, but who knows when it comes to independent wrestling.
Well, are you doing your Hindu squats? You getting pumped up for you ready to get us some clips?
And not as much as I need to be, but it's definitely something that I need to be better at.
All right. Well, you know, follow us on, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and you can send us an email, ringsidesyndicate@gmail.com. If you got some suggestions for the shows, or maybe even a suggestion for where we might take a road trip to, and get back to you on that. But if that's it, for Paul, I'm Jason. Real talk, no filters, just wrestling. We'll see you next time right here on the Hardcast.
Good night, and thank you for watching.